Yes, it's me. Hello strangers, I'm Ravenna and this is my wrap up for the Tome Topple read-a-thon. This read-a-thon lasted 2 weeks. I managed to finish one tome and I'm quite happy with that tome because it took me a long time. And it's a massive tome. I did read other things, like I read a net guide of a book that was 400 pages. Obviously that doesn't count. I don't know if I would have got more or less read if I hadn't read that. I don't know how it could have been less, but anything's possible. And the tome that I managed to finish was House of Leaves by Danielewski. Danielewski? Wesky? I don't know. You know, it's House of Leaves. Just Google it, it'll come up. This book took me forever. I did this as the buddy challenge, and I think that's really the only challenge I finished. I don't even remember what the challenges were at this point. But I finished the tome! I think that was one. Or was it finished more than one? Oh well. Yeah, so I buddy read this, and I think that's did help motivate me to keep reading it, because like I didn't want to fall behind my buddy. Hello Samantha, if you're watching this. It's very much like a textbook. You know, it's written in the form of like a film textbook, but with bad theory practices. The main story is quite interesting, but like it's like there's like two stories going on. Like there's the story of like House of Leaves, and then there's Johnny Titan's life story thing going on, and sometimes both would be hard to read and sometimes both would be easy to read. It was never like straightforward, because like some pages would just take me half an hour to read and then others would be so easy. The format of this book's quite important. Some of the pages are formatted like this, others are like just like full box of text like this. And I don't think it helps that sometimes for like no reason the main like House of Leaves story, instead of like getting the actual interesting story, we'll just like get like all this random information that's I guess kind of relevant, but like also why? You telling me this? And another thing I wasn't expecting, this book set off my dyslexia a hell of a lot. I think because like I said, it's just like full box of text like this, so I found it just genuinely hard to read it because of the whole dyslexia thing. Because my dyslexia is kind of like sometimes I'll get lost in text more than like it'll move about or whatever. I think another problem about this book was it'd been hyped up a lot. Like everyone told me how creepy this book was and how it scared them or terrified them, and like me, the child who's watched horror films since I can remember, I'm like, oh, is this meant to be scary or even creepy? It's just kind of interesting. I mean, it probably would be creepy if it happened to you, but reading about it, no. A book I'm about to discuss in a little bit will probably like give you a hint at why this book did like no key factor for me. I'm so disappointed. Like this book opens with "This book is not for you," and I'm like, I wanted it to be. It should have been. This is like, I love books and films and weird conspiracy stuff. I should have loved this book and I didn't. But this book took me a long time to get through. I finished this the day before the read-a-thon finished. And I think if I had chose other tomes other than this, I could have like got several out the bag. Basically, if I could have read all the tomes on my TBR if I hadn't decided to read this. But, you know, Tome Topple is about reading challenging books that scare you, and I read this. I don't regret reading it because it was a book that I had wanted to read so long and I still wanted to read it, so I read it and now I can have my 2-piece on it. I've decided to do a separate review of this book because I have so many thoughts. The other book I read early towards the start of the read-a-thon but didn't finish was The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and I got 100 or so pages in this. I'm on chapter 3 of this, and then I stopped. Not because I didn't like it, I did like it, I was enjoying it really well, and I think I do like this better than Donna Tartt's other book, The Little Friend. It reminds me a lot of How to Get Away with Murder, and I don't know, I don't think that's really a spoiler because it's kind of how the book opens and it's how that show opens. It just like, it shares a lot with that, and I don't know if that show is acknowledged as being based on this book at all, and like inspired, I mean. Because like they've got very similar kind of setups. I also listened to like 2 audiobooks during Tome Topple. One didn't count, but I then finally did download a book that would count for it, and that book was Stephen King's It. I got to chapter 10 by it, so like a few good hours in. If you don't know how long it is, it's massive. Massive. So like 10 chapters is like 10 hours, so I basically have listened to the equivalent of a small book. And I'm like, there's not even any good parts yet. We're not at the good parts yet. It's kind of funny listening to it because I started reading the book a long time ago. I think I probably was like, I want to say like 14. I was like in my early teens when I originally started reading it. And while there was parts of it that I enjoyed and found like titillating or kind of scary, it just didn't hold my attention because if you've not read Stephen King, sometimes he like goes on about anything forever, and like it took him 10 years to write, and I guess nobody decided that they wanted to spend 10 years editing it. That's not how editing works, but maybe. Just like there's so much Topple prose in it, and like he describes stuff that you don't need to describe, and I was at the point where I'm like, I'm had enough of this. Had enough of this, Stephen. I'll leave you to it. I'm still listening to it, and I'm still not the bit I gave up in. So I feel like I must have gave up at quite a bit, like far into the book. I still have my edition that I read from of it, but I don't know what it is to check. But there's like still a bookmark in it from when I gave up. I was expecting to get to where I gave up a lot sooner, and I haven't. I have seen the TV series movie thing. I watched that when I was a lot younger. A TV channel like Sky had like probably like several months of just showing Stephen King adaptions, and that was one of them. And like the Yo's Haunted House one, I always forget what's actually the full title, but you know, like the one that the house that's got like rules and ghosts and stuff as well. So Stephen King reminds me of peach ice cream, because during that whole series I was like getting peach ice cream every weekend and eating it while I watched Stephen King movies. Childhoods. So yeah, I watched it when I was like little. Like I was the same age. I was younger than the characters in it was, so that's why House of Night doesn't really have much effect on me. Years of torrents is just real hard to crack. I'm so disappointed. I thought it would. But even when I bought it, I don't think it would have scared me at all, or like creeped me out at all. It's sad. So sad. So yeah, I stopped reading it years ago because I found it boring. And because we're now into the reading class, I had decided to give up on Donna Tartt, and I still had a day of Tome Topple, and I'm like, do I just call it quits and start reading something else? Or do I read the book, one of the books I was planning to read for Tome Topple in one day? And I decided that I would just keep with Tome Topple. I even asked on Twitter, and someone was like, no, give up. And I'm like, okay, but I'm gonna know what you said. So I started reading Air of Fire by Sarah J Maas. And I know like Sam, who runs this, who like started Tomes of Topple, like hates these series and just goes on about how bad they are. And like some of the stuff she says is like, good point. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from even the first 2 books. And the last book I read, like my review from it comes across as being so angry. I was in a real bad pace though, so I think that's what really affected that review. So I read 130 pages of this in the last day, of Tome Topple. And I'm continuing to read it. I'm like halfway through now. I like it okay. I'm probably gonna pre-order the next book so I can get the free pouch thing, because hope can't be broken or so, or whatever it is. There's like 7 special editions of the next book. And like some of them are yo dumb special edition stuff. Like there's a special edition that gets a short story, which yeah, that's something I would want, and then there's like Q&As and stuff. But like the only UK special edition that we're getting is the Waterstones one, and it's fan art of the main character and one of her love interests that I really don't care about. I take it he's still in the book, so that means he's still relevant if they're doing fan art. But here's the thing, it's not really fan art anymore if it's published in the book. Then it's just art that's part of the work. It's not fan art then. And, well, if it was fan art, you should pay her or him. And I've seen like a lot of weird controversial about Sarah J Maas on Twitter, but I don't actually know what's going on. I just like see people saying things about it. So feel free in the comments to explain that to me, because I have a rough idea but also not enough to talk about it. Like something about a lottery or something. So those are all the books that I read for Tome Topple. Did you do better than me, or did you do the same? How did you do in Tome Topple? Are you happy with your result? It's probably the question really, you know. Are you happy with how much you read? I'm pretty much happy because I had a lot of stuff going on. I was busy with work-ish stuff. I'm being paid to edit, guys. It's the dream. So I will see you weirdos next time, where I will be the one behind you. Farewell. Why are you backing, Lily? Well, what I did read would be enough to kill someone. Could I just like glue it to the side of my head? Time. And it's a massive tomb. Stella's going. Stella, if you don't want to be in the video, you can sit on the floor.